Hey friends, welcome back to some more Reddit stories about some seriously unhinged people. Hope you're all doing awesome today. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get into today's stories. Had to call the police on my neighbor. I decided to share my story since it escalated last week. I'm a single female living in an apartment complex. It's me and my dog. My neighbor across the hall is an old grumpy creepy man I've never liked since the day he moved in. He keeps junk outside his door, doesn't control his guests, throws food and trash into the common areas, and once even tried swinging at my dog with his cane. He's always made me feel extremely uncomfortable around him since day one. I have complained to management, but they do nothing about him. He plays dumb when confronted, then goes back to whatever it was. About a year ago, he started taking my packages. I would come home to no package and have to wait for him to appear to get my stuff. Constantly, I told him to leave my packages alone. He'd always say, "I'm trying to help you out." Now, I've never had a package stolen in this building. Never. I have had them delivered to the wrong addresses, but never stolen. This went back and forth for a full year. He would even take them when I was home. I literally opened my door one day to collect my package, only to see him nearly bolting out of his apartment to get it. He saw me and just said, "Oh, you're home," then went back inside. I had enough and bought a camera. The camera seemed to deter him as he doesn't like it. Last week, I was expecting a book to be delivered. Mailman drops it off, waves to the camera and leaves. Old guy opens his door. He stares at my package for several minutes before trying to take it into his apartment. I get on the intercom and yell at him to put my stuff down. He drops it. No more than 10 minutes later, he comes back out and takes the package again. I had enough. I got off work early, came home, and called the police. The officer who came out watched the video I recorded and went to talk to my neighbor. Same excuse as always. "I'm trying to be helpful." I never asked him to start taking my packages. The officer gave him a warning, saying if he took anything else from my door, I could press charges against him and he would be arrested. He is pissed. My camera also records audio, and I could hear him complaining to his niece that I didn't need to call the cops, and again, he's looking out for me. I would feel safer with the tiger actively stalking me in the woods. That's my story. I wanted to share it. I got my book and had the best evening reading. Paranoid neighbor keeps trying to come into our house. I'm a 25-year-old female and my boyfriend is 30. My boyfriend and I moved into a nice and quiet neighborhood about 6 months ago. We chat with a few of our neighbors here and there, especially while walking our dogs, and are friendly when we encounter anyone. But we mostly keep to ourselves. Showing up at someone's door with a basket is just in the movies, right? 2 weeks ago, I got out of the shower and heard my boyfriend talking to someone in the entryway. I peeked out and saw him nervously talking to a woman, approximately late 40s. I had just taken my glasses off, so I was extra blind and didn't recognize her. I assumed because she was standing inside her house that my boyfriend knew who she was, and carried along getting dressed in our bedroom. A few moments later, my boyfriend shouts out to me and asks if I know what's going on. "No, I thought you were going to fill me in on what's going on." The woman is chiming in short cryptic phrases like, "Oh really? You don't know who I am? You should know exactly why I am here." I have severe anxiety, so my mind was already starting to race, and I was trying to place this woman's face. She seemed vaguely familiar, but in the context and confusion, I couldn't place her. Boyfriend keeps asking her who she is, and she gives no indication of who she is or why she is there, but keeps insisting that we know what's going on. He finally asks that they step back outside to talk, and the woman reaches behind her and locks the deadbolt with a smirk on her face. I thought things were about to escalate, so I start looking around for something to grab, but just shout out for my boyfriend to quickly open the door himself so she can just leave. He follows her out the door while she is still rambling. As soon as they step outside, I realized who she was. She is a neighbor. Her backyard is diagonal to our backyard, and I see her from afar here and then while walking our dogs, but she never comes anywhere near, smiles, waves, or even makes eye contact. Now I'm even more confused, wondering if our dog had dug a hole under the fence and she came to chastise us or what. My boyfriend comes back in and I ask how the hell that all started. He said he didn't have the slightest clue who she was or why she was there. I said she must have given you some kind of reason for you to let her in the house. That's when he said, "I didn't let her in. She rang the doorbell, I started to answer the door, and she pushed in and shut the door behind her. I felt panic flooding my brain. What do we do? Do we call the police? Was she drunk? Did we offend her in some way? I decided to text my neighbor whose backyard directly faces ours and asked how well she knew her next-door neighbor and a brief summary of what had just happened. She responded quickly that a few years prior, she fell and cracked her head open and had gone through multiple brain surgeries since. Good neighbor said loony neighbor was never the same since, but friendly. Not in the list of adjectives I would use to describe our interaction. She offers to give us Looney's husband's phone number, or suggests that her husband could talk to Looney's husband in the morning. I accepted both. I had never even seen her husband, so didn't want to call out of the blue with something like that, but figured it would be nice to have his number just on the off chance that anything else out of the ordinary ever happened. Boy, were we optimistic. The next morning, good neighbor texts me that Looney husband was extremely apologetic, explained she had a seizure earlier in the week, and started new meds that caused confusion. He would take care of it, and that he was so glad we had informed him. I kept thinking that her behavior did not seem like someone who was disoriented or confused. She seemed paranoid and hostile. But I still felt sympathetic towards their situation and decided to write it off as a weird evening. 2 days later, I get out of a meeting at work and saw someone ring my doorbell 3 times. My doorbell records a short clip each time it's rung. It was her. In each clip, about 10 minutes apart, she would slam the doorbell, then huff and puff and pace around, visibly upset we had not answered the door. She was peering into the windows near our door. In one clip, she glared directly into the camera for about 20 seconds before hitting the button. So creepy. I texted boyfriend and sent him screenshots, but we were both working, and after all, she was just ringing the doorbell. Maybe she had come to apologize, but was just not a pleasant person. 3 hours later, boyfriend was on the way home, and I was still at work. She was back at the door, waiting, pacing, stomping her feet. Have you ever heard of a 9 to 5? I warned him in case he was close, but she ended up leaving. She came back 10 minutes later. He was right around the corner, so he drove straight to their house, and her husband was outside. My boyfriend told Looney husband that this is getting a little weird, and we would appreciate it if she would stop patrolling our front porch. The husband said he'd take care of it, and they had a doctor's appointment coming up. 9 p.m. rolls around. I decided to take my dog out for a quick stroll. No more than 2 minutes after I leave, I see the notification that someone rang our doorbell. No freaking way. Yup, it was her. So I started screen recording. I thought surely boyfriend would not answer, but he did. She tried to rush towards the open door and he quickly stepped out on the porch and shut the door, which upset her. She said, "Don't effing talk to me. Again, you rang our bell." She continues rambling that she knows everything that's going on, and she's hearing all sorts of things from our house, and he needs to let her in so she can see everything we're doing and know everything that's going on. Boyfriend jests that he was just folding laundry, which really set her off. She started cursing him out, calling him a liar, and insisting she must come inside. She must know. Boyfriend tried to tell her that he understands her situation, but there's really no need to get hostile. Looney took his sympathetic statement as an admission of guilt, that we really were spying on her. He offers to walk her back to her house, and she curses at him some more and then storms off. I had boyfriend text Looney's husband the video. We wanted him to see that it was not just confusion. There was something more serious going on. He said he was on his way home from work and would, you guessed it, take care of it. We never heard back from him. We were going out of town the next morning, so we had 2 days of peace. We came home, and for a few days, a little more peace. Maybe we all just needed a few days of space for things to settle, right? Wrong. The last incident had been 9 days ago. Today I'm at work and I see the doorbell alert. I knew in my gut it was her again. I tried to open the video, but signal in my office is atrocious. I was anxious, so I kept an eye on the activity log. All of a sudden, I start seeing things pop up. Front door open, front door shut, back door open, back door shut, front door open, front door shut, and so on. I quickly called boyfriend to see if he had come home from work early, and he said no. My heart sank. I told him that someone was in our house, and we needed to get home. I was mainly worried about our dogs, At one point, Looney had made a weird comment about our dog, and we had also just gotten a puppy. Puppy was crated, but I was worried a door was open and our other dog would be wandering loose, or worse. I sped home and ran in the door. No dog running to greet me and no puppy in the crate. I start shouting for them and racing through the house, shouting all throughout. I felt like the house was spinning. I was sobbing uncontrollably when I thought I heard a faint jingle. I sprinted for the backyard and there they were. I have never been more relieved, but was still terrified. It had to be her. Was she still there? What had happened? Boyfriend got home and I tried to load some of the doorbell clips again. The first two were unavailable, and when the clips from about an hour later loaded, we saw paramedics. Paramedics banging on our door and trying to get in, and at some point came inside. Who let the puppy out of the crate? Could not tell you. Apparently, when the fire department comes to your home, they don't leave a notice or anything. One of the only things I could hear in any of the clips was, "She's gonna flip again when we call her back." Who is she? You guessed it, Looney neighbor. We called the fire department and they told us she had called to report someone inside of our address was collapsed from a seizure. I'm not sure if she's just trying to make our life a living hell at this point or if she was just trying to find a way to get into our home. Boyfriend went to talk to Looney's husband and he was still extremely short with responses and was not taking it any more seriously. I called the non-emergency line for our police department and they sent an officer out. The officer was not remotely helpful. He had gone to talk to the Looneys first and then gave us the same lines about she's trying new medication. He's going to call her doctor. I 100% understand how stressful that kind of stuff can be, and I truly do feel bad for them. But I am also scared for our safety. Every incident has escalated and nothing has changed. I asked about filing a restraining order. I knew this was a long shot since they live close. I asked if there was anything that could be mandated about her being supervised or getting a caretaker. Her husband is a firefighter, so she's completely alone for long stretches of time and is always walking around the neighborhood alone. The officer told me not to hesitate to call again if she comes back. That was it. And OP also gives a bit more details in the comments. A commenter said, "Call Adult Protective Services. If husband is not at all concerned about what she is doing and it has gotten to the point that she is breaking into your home, then this is a must. Also, as far as the police are concerned, escalate up the chain of command." And OP says, "We are doing both today. I spent all night researching what we can do as far as APS versus Baker Act. And because she has not directly threatened to harm herself or us, it seems like Baker Act is off the table, unless her husband is on our side. So we will be reporting her lack of care to APS today." And another commenter says, "Adult Protective Services needs to be your first call. She has brain damage and should not be left alone. She needs a minder or to be placed in a safe home. Personally, I don't think she's violent, but she is a danger to herself." And OP says, 100%. The good neighbor's husband told me this morning that he thinks the husband is fed up and their marriage won't last long. Makes me feel even more confident that he's not trying to get her the care she needs. We're calling APS this morning. We suggested after the second incident that she needed a caretaker or someone home with her at all times. We found out that the day she came by 5 times throughout the afternoon, he was home. He said, "She just said she was popping out for a minute." Maybe if your wife who has a traumatic brain injury, recent seizures, and erratic behavior wants to take a walk, go with her. We pointed out she could wander into a busy road or something. And it's unfortunate that OP never updated us beyond this point. So if APS was notified, and since it's their job to handle cases like this, I would have to imagine something must have been done about this. I mean, one can hope, right? Because it's obvious she's not getting the care she needs. And you can see both sides of this, too. It's an unfortunate situation, and obviously she can't be fully held accountable given her brain injury. And at the same time, OP is also fully justified to fear for her own safety. Anyway guys, that's going to be all for today. Thank you for watching, I do appreciate it. If you want to hear more Reddit stories, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel as well. So I'm out of here, have an awesome day, and I'll see you next time.